Hello. 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 I'm so excited. I don't have to work tomorrow. Hi. Hi. Welcome back. Can you guys see me and hear me? StreamYard's acting up and I'm effing sick of it. I'm looking into something new because I'm over it. Hello. Happy Thursday, baby Friday, Junior. 4th of July, tomorrow. What are you guys doing? Let me know. I kind of want to stream, but what's everyone doing? Hello. Welcome. I see Christine. Hi, Patty. Hi, Jules. Hi, babes. Hi, Eternal. Yes, we can. Hey, Dodge. It's good to see y'all. Welcome back. I am back. I didn't stream last night because I knew I would be streaming tonight and then tomorrow, having the day off. I'm going to take advantage of that. So welcome. I am Melly for all the new subscribers, return viewers, everybody I know. I'm just going to stay home, drink, and be boring. That's not boring. Hi, Abuelita's Junie. Shout out to all the mods that show up. I love my mods. Patty, I missed you. Okay. There's so much going on. I know the Diddler, Karen Reed still, and then I know this Bryan Kohberger stuff. We're going to watch the hearing tonight. What do you guys think? I know we in my Discord were talking about it, and my friends were so pissed off. Bryan Kohberger, like, what a coward. Right? R.I.P. Justice. Facts, Dodge. Facts. I'm so upset. I think it should have gone to trial. I think the judge should have denied the plea. I do. I know everyone. Okay, here's the thing is, like, I've heard a lot of good feedback on, like, for example, Anjanette Levy, like, gave a good point, like, oh no, it was, I can't remember who it was, actually. One of them said something like, you know, it's for the best because they can avoid all those years of, like, having to appeal things because he was looking at the death penalty. But I honestly think it should have been a trial from the peers, the jury peers. It was his bushy eyebrows. He didn't have bushy eyebrows at this hearing. I haven't watched it, but I heard all about it. You know, I don't know, I'm upset. I'm upset about how this case is ending. And if you missed the live that I did on Bryan Kohberger during the week, go back and replay it. I have a whole playlist. I just think he's liking this. Like, I think he's liking making people suffer. I haven't watched the whole hearing, so we're going to watch it tonight. But after I saw, like, how he was acting, like, bits and pieces, I'm like, oh, he is foul. Like, he's a gross thing that came to earth. I don't know why, but I just, the coldness that I felt, I was just like, this is so messed up. Like, I feel like he's enjoying that and he's going to make money off of this. And that's sad because we'll probably be covering it, but to be honest, but I feel like he's going to take advantage of it, that he's in prison and going to write a book and do all the dumb shit that the criminals want to do that we feed into, you know, being true crimers. So I'm just a little upset. I know the family has been sharing, like, the Goncalvez. Is it Goncalvez or Goncalves? I thought it was, I've heard both. I sure look like he shaved his eyebrows. Oh, that's cool. For real, and you should email me about that. So yeah, I have my feelings about this. I'm a little bit upset. Let's watch it though. It's not very long. If you are new here, hello, welcome. We do true crime and then we have a little fun. So after this, I will be on another live for After Dark, but I did want to make sure that I watched this hearing. So I'm going to play it. Let me pull it up. Thanks for being here. Make sure you hit the like button for your girl, yeah? That would be really appreciated. Get me in the algorithm, because that's just whack sometimes. Anyways, I do have my drink. Let's have a good night. He's very creepy in person. Bryan Kohberger, I could just tell he was just guilty. Are you guilty? Yes. The way he was saying yes, I'm like, are you a demon talking to me? Because he was really so cold. Okay, let's get into it. I'm gonna stop ranting. Oh, Stearns. He's also creepy in person. I also hate that man. Okay, and I know we said we like this judge, but I think I don't like him very much now. I don't know. The way he acts, too, I'm kind of like, I'm turned off by all of it. Yeah, I know, for Wheeling. I can't wait.
All right, this is CR 0124316665. Defendant is present in custody with counsel, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Nye is here as well. Am I miss anybody? I'm sorry.
Look at him.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms. Allen is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case.
Yes. Keep doing
This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never take into account public sentiment in making an.
I have to stop this. He's talking so much shit right now. He's saying public sentiment, wah. He is so mad he's being called out. He's so mad. Not hippie acting like this.
Opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases.
I'm shook.
Court should, and I always will make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me. Period. I have not read any of the numerous messages nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff.
You
Those
haven't?
have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement.
I'm curious. Have you got threats?
I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this, because again, it is not appropriate and frankly not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, what the court's duties are, and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue, including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that.
What complete
This court,
horseshit, right?
in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence, in advance. If I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here.
Apology not accepted until Steve Goncalvez says it's accepted.
I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand.
Okay, so do something. I don't know, delay it.
Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly. And so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you.
I don't get why it was so rushed. I feel like there was something they could do about that between the judge. If they really cared about the families feeling, why rush it now? It's already been 2 years, 2.5 years.
Start to leave.
Right?
Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing. Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment: burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following.
Nobody agreed.
The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed. and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count. So theoretically, the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing.
If the death penalty is not for Bryan Kohberger, I said this yesterday or the day before yesterday, why do they have it there in Idaho? If killing 4 people does not mean you get the death penalty, what does? Like, how many people do you have to kill in Idaho? I'm just curious before you get the death penalty, because that's weak, in my opinion.
But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement?
It's terrible.
That the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement.
Why even have it? Why even have the death penalty in Idaho?
Record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counter offers and answered his questions about those?
Yes,
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Why does he
Now,
stand
while you're
up?
standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Yuck. I'm throwing up.
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Kohberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the
Yeah, sit your ass down,
sign
dude.
of respect, but for
Sit
convenience,
down.
you can remain seated. All right.
On a
Before I
Bible,
start
no
asking you
less.
questions
Right,
today,
dog.
have you consumed substance
your
questions?
ass
Let me
down.
ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
That's messed up.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include on count 1, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary.
Okay,
You may be
Shandy.
required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree
Good to see
murder.
you.
The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime to
How is
be
he gonna pay
enforced in the
those?
form of a civil judgment to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime.
Dude, what do they want him to do? Go to McDonald's while he's in prison and pay that restitution money? Fine never gets paid. For life sentence. That's what I said. I was like, oh my God. Not someone living 540 years. Why do they do that? Can they just say for life? Damn it.
You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples.
Dude.
You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
Commissary for the families. That's messed up. Served concurrently.
You've heard the plea
Yeah.
agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that are that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
I can't stand him.
As as I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
So deny it, dude.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Is anyone other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
He's a psychopath.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
Dude, if we don't get access to everything via documents, this judge needs to be, he needs, what do they call it when they like, don't elect this judge. This is crazy. We need those documents.
Your Honor.
We need to see everything.
And Mr. Kohberger,
We
you
don't get a
understand
trial,
that by
fine.
entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal
That's messed up.
any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Impeached. Oh, that's the word. Thanks. Stop. Don't elect that man.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading
Like that
guilty
man as a
freely and
judge.
voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
Dude.
I have received a written
Impeach, disbarred. You know what? Get him
guilty
the
plea
hell out of the
advisory.
judge seat. That's it.
questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Dude.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
Imagine killing 4 people and being a coward and being like, but after 2 years, after everything, I'll take the death penalty, the life in prison.
And this
Saves money.
document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case.
It's already
Should
so
you
much,
not
so
plead
much
guilty.
money
Do
wasted.
you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to
Why does he have a haircut? What the hell?
have proven at trial had you
Why are they giving him a haircut?
to the crimes that you're
And
pleading
his
guilty
brows.
to, had you
Where's the bushy brows?
if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one,
Those 4 students are dead. Their throats were slit, and he gets to live in a cell buying commissary, getting cold showers. They get a hot pot if you're good. You get to read books. You get to continue your education. They make your ass work out. Like, that's brutal.
burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in 𝐻𝐸 County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence, local county, Idaho, you 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count 2, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in 𝐻𝐸 County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being, by stabbing
Ugh.
Madison Mogen, from which she died. As to count 3, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in 𝐻𝐸 County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being, by stabbing
If I was a parent, I couldn't sit there. And we're going to watch the interview
her
after this.
from which she died. As to count 4, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in 𝐻𝐸 County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count 5, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in 𝐻𝐸 County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a
He said it in the other live. We'll never know. We'll never know. Brian's never going to tell the truth. Those people aren't there. The witnesses, we don't even really know. We'll just never know. It's like the Chris Watts case. There's so much behind that case, and I feel like we never will know, and we can't believe a psychopath, narcissist, serial killer.
document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the
Very
defendant's
sad.
signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
He might write a book, but is it going to be play by play? Like, do we get the actual truth? And how do you believe someone who murders, and slits 4 people. So like, how would we even believe what he's saying? I wouldn't believe it. Who knows what he's making up and not making up?
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you,
I'm sure.
on November 13th, 2022, in 𝐿𝐴𝐻 County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Did you honor about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with
heart.
premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that?
I hate to interrupt, but what? He messed her name up again? He's done this many times in the past. What? I find that disrespectful.
That willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
He's done that before.
Yes.
Get it right, dude. We get it
And then
right.
on,
You get it right.
We're about November 13th, 2022,
Okay.
again in 𝐿𝐴𝐻 County, Idaho. Did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual
It's been
basis
2
had
years.
this
He can
case
get it
gone to
right.
trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing in his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, 𝐿𝐴𝐻 County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Bryan Kohberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include a trial, video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway, just across the state line from Moscow. It would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled
Why is that an echo?
surveillance
Did you guys hear that?
the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's
Thank
car
you,
was
Amber,
parked.
for sending jewels. Thank you, thank you, thank
Defendant
you.
entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves.
Hey, Stubbs, good to see you.
The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogen's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Kernodle, still awake at this time, in fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor, it was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well.
Who was he there to kill? Was it one of the girls, two of the girls? Were these people just in the wrong place at the wrong time? This is so terrible. I'm shook. I know. I am too.
With a large fixed blade knife. Each victim
This is
suffered
insane.
multiple wounds.
Hi,
I will
Corey.
state
Good
for
to
the
see you.
record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that
Wait, pause. A container in his hand? A container of what? What was it?
sliding door is that I mentioned before.
Did I miss something?
At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of 𝐻𝐸𝐽 County. About 4:48 that morning, defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 2, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Kohberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Kohberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogen's body in the bed.
I don't remember the
Subsequently, an
Q-tip
arrest
part. Is
warrant
that new?
was issued here in Idaho, and a
Thought it
search
was
warrant
evidence
was issued
from it.
in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court, the public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court
I
that
forget, and we'll never know nothing.
apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office.
Like, it's not that
Spartan
true.
would be
I
a
don't believe
kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we are now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Kohberger entered the residence of 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle.
Dude, this little old man has more feeling and empathy for the victims in the case than the freaking judge. Do you hear him?
Thank you.
His voice? Wow. Dude, look at
All
the
right,
little prick
based on
sitting
the
there.
state's proffer, and importantly, based upon defendant's
Brian.
explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2,
Oh,
murder in the first degree, as it relates to
I was there.
the murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Goncalves, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, pardon me, a human.
Dude, I was pissed about the first time, now the second time, and this is not the first time. Not today. He says her name. Why doesn't he get it right 2.5 years later? I'm just wondering. I feel like that's very
Human
rude.
being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Very inconsiderate.
As to count 5, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead,
Dude.
guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges, and
Judge Hippie, if we can do it, you can do it.
each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. Court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea, and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The
that's
state
very
also.
rude.
Yes, Your Honor, the state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed, given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely.
Where's the request for let's see all the documents? Give them to us. The families don't even want to make a victim impact statement because they're not for this. They're not agreeing to any of this. We want all the documents, all the evidence. Put it out there.
And
Put everything out there, dude.
certainly
That's
both
crazy.
the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties or the next week, the week of August 4 is available.
July 22nd.
Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
The
We're
state, I
sure
believe,
you
will be
are,
there on
ma'am.
the 22nd.
We're
We've
sure.
told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd
No,
with
it
the
is the
idea that
23rd.
if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right. Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, sir.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing. So we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through
All right.
sentencing.
I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said, obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction.
I'll
for
just
the
show up in
crimes,
orange or
he
whatever.
will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated
trial
and those
is-
4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury
Not funny,
commissioner will
Judge
get
Hitler.
word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So
Thank you, Your Honor.
that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned. All right, please.
Ew, Brian Kohberger is so nasty. Okay, now we're gonna just watch the Goncalvez interview and another interview by another one of the family members. This interview is intense. I really wanted to play it. My heart's breaking for him, for this father. This is from Ashley Banfield, News Nation.
Who is Kaylee's father and his attorney.
Get ready
Shane
for this.
Gray,
This is
who
wild.
Have endured the wrath of all of this for 2.5 years. Steve, I watched you earlier today. My heart was breaking as you, in protest, left court, because it's no secret you were not on board with this plea bargain. You're not the only family member not on board. I just wanted to touch base with you and just see how you are tonight. How are you processing, and what your thoughts are after this momentous day?
My family feels used. We feel like they took Kaylee's name and they used it as a weapon. They used it for a reason to commit whatever decision that they had. But it wasn't a share. It wasn't something that the community agreed on. It wasn't something that we agreed on as the victims of the families. It was a script. It was just a script that they had, and we just were just another name on a spreadsheet, and they just went through the system, and it was business as usual. But this isn't a family as usual. We're not a normal family. We're gonna fight back. You're not gonna play us. You're not gonna use my daughter's name and literally pretend like we believed in your plea deal. We didn't. We believe in our community. We believe in our peers. We believe in a jury. We believe in the process. Maybe we're fools. Maybe we are complete fools for believing you should have a trial to put somebody in prison for life or kill them. But I'd rather be a fool than to believe in the system that I see before me.
Steve, you made the trip to Boise with your family. Did any prosecutors or anyone from the prosecutor's office reach out to you or anyone with your family, either before the hearing, at any point outside the court, or after the hearing?
The only people who reach out to me are agents that aren't part of this court system that have warned me to be careful with this court system. And shame on me for not listening. Shame on me for letting Kaylee down.
He just said, shame on me for letting Kaylee down. Oh my gosh.
It's my mistake. I'm sorry, Kaylee. I'm truly sorry that I didn't get you a prosecutor who really believed what happened to you could only be fixed with life. Fixed, you killed 4 people, and to take 1 life for 4 seems like pretty simple math.
Oh my God.
But
I agree with him.
Describe this as a win, even though they don't ask us what a win looks like. So I'm sorry. I apologize to my daughter. I let her down, and it's been a terrible day. It's been terrible.
Wow.
Steve, I'll go on the record saying there's been no stronger advocate for your daughter than you. I get it. It's been a terrible day, but I really don't want you going forward thinking you haven't done everything. You have done everything and more for Kaylee. Look, I see the system. I know the system. Shannon, weigh in. You know the system. You're a lawyer. You're in Idaho. I haven't seen an advocate like Steve has been for his daughter in any case I've covered.
Steve is, he's a rock, right? He's a rock for the family. He's a rock for this prosecution moving forward and gathering evidence and facts. And I mean, we've had dozens of meetings where we basically sat in and told them what they should be doing, and them sitting down and taking notes about things. But we all the time just trying to keep confident in the prosecution. And, it was not what the victims wanted. It wasn't what the Goncalves family wanted. And the way the process was for notifying them, and it just puts a bad taste in your mouth about all of it. And, and even talking with Steve and Christy today, the tone of the judge today was, I think they felt, was completely improper.
Okay. So I'm not sitting up here being an a-hole. I thought that judge was an a-hole, and I'm with her dad. I stand by what he's saying.
And so there's a lot of things that, you walk away after 2.5 years of just being completely demonized and hassled and trolled and you name it on the internet and everybody else. And for it to end this way, not only the outcome of it, but also the way that it happened, just seems really unfair and completely uncalled for.
Steve, you've got a month to prepare a victim's impact statement. You can say anything to this court. I know you haven't prepared it yet, but do you have a preview of what you want to say to this court when you get to stand up and what you want to say to Bryan Kohberger?
I was kind of proud of my kids today because I didn't go into the courtroom, and then when it was all said and done, after Hitler tried to turn it into his secretary being busy and his lines being flooded with phone calls was more pressing than 4 dead souls that were killed in their bed.
Oh my God, that's true. Everyone call Hippie's office. Call, make complaints, make a statement, email.
Came out of it and said they don't think they ever want to go back to the courtroom again. So I don't even think we're actually going to even do a victim statement. There's no point in it. It's pointless exercise.
He doesn't want to do a victim
some
impact
family was in
statement.
my position when, years ago, and they probably felt a lot like how I feel right now and thought that they should be able to speak and address the courtroom and try to fix the courtroom. That's probably what these victim statements were supposed to be, but they're not that anymore. And we're G's, we're Goncalveses. We don't participate in pointless exercise that are a waste of our time. What we do is we speak to the media, we speak to people like you, we make change happen from inside out. And that's probably why they get mad at us and they push back at us and they say that, we're combative and this and that. You know what we are? When somebody says they're 100% for their daughter and they're a G, they're 100%. And that means some little plea deal that you made in the back alley isn't good enough. It's not good enough. 4 souls were lost for one Brian. Brian's not worth one of these people, let alone 4. And I'll never accept a deal where one freaking Brian gets locked up in daycare for freaking adults. And that's supposed to be equivalent to 4 souls, 4 Idahoans, 4 of us, guys, 4 of us in college doing everything to the best of our ability. One loser from Pennsylvania is in his life, in our system, taking care of him. That's equivalent. That's equivalent. You need to keep calling. You need to keep calling people like Hitler. And maybe he doesn't get reelected. Maybe he needs to pick up that phone and hear those calls and understand who he represents. Because this is Idaho and we hold you accountable.
I feel the pain. He's speaking very strongly, but I can feel the pain and the anger in his voice, and that breaks my heart.
Steve, if you may, depending on how the next month goes, you
This
may
is
change
terrible.
your mind. You may decide to give an impact statement. If you don't, it is fully within your right. Do you have a message for Bryan Kohberger tonight?
You're a complete loser. You're an absolute loser. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that we couldn't have ended you. We didn't find the leadership to end you.
Oh.
That's your victory, bro. That's the best it's going to be. You beat me on that. My bad.
Oh,
I
my
believed in the wrong
God.
people. I believed in the wrong leadership, but we'll fix that.
What do you hope for him? What do you hope will happen in the future that is now inevitable for Bryan Kohberger?
They say there's such thing as a prison justice, and some of those people have reached out to me. Maybe they have a welcome gift for him. Maybe they can,
He's so
maybe this
upset.
Pennsylvania city kid can go to Idaho. Some of those guys in there have kids just like mine, look just like mine, same age as all these other kids that were here. And you worked your, you made a couple choices, made a couple wrong turns, and you're in there. But you want the best for your kid. You want your kid to go to college. You want everything for them to go in there and win. And you don't want them to die. You don't want them to die. So maybe you should talk to Brian, have a little welcome package for him, and welcome to Idaho.
It's completely understandable.
He's
I
so
can't
hurt.
imagine being in your shoes. Like I said, it's a month away. Maybe Brian Enton, if you could step in for a moment and just give our audience a reminder of what comes next and on what dates and what happens in the next month.
Yeah, the sentencing actually has been set at the end, excuse me, of July, and that is when the victim impact statements will be made. I believe
Good to see
maybe
you,
Brian Kohberger could also say something if he wishes. I do want to elaborate on one thing Steve was
I don't
saying
wanna
when his connection was
fucking hear
breaking
what
up,
he's
and I'm curious
saying.
what you think about this, Ashley, because you've covered so many cases. But it was very odd to me that when we went into the courtroom, and it was such a solemn feeling, and it was, I mean, like the biggest hearing in Idaho history, and the families are there, and Brian Kohberger's there, and there's just this really just deep, feeling. And the first thing the judge says is, I've got something that I want to address, like almost with an attitude, and says that it's been incredibly disruptive, that me and my staff have been getting calls. And the
Dude,
calls need to stop. And my staff has work to do. And this went on for a couple of minutes. And again, I'm curious what you think, Ashley. You were probably listening in the beginning, but like, it just seemed kind of tone deaf to me.
I kind of want to box Hitler. I kind of want to box him.
Surprised.
I do.
I just kept thinking about Steve and the other family members. That's what they're hearing first. I know Steve was in the courtroom, but it was difficult. But I also know how affected so many people across the country, indeed across the world, have been by the loss of these 4 beautiful kids. And so I can understand that there have been some calls and messages as well.
Hey, against all
Look at
logic.
those faces: Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Goncalves, prime of their lives.
Look at those 4 beautiful faces. Brian Kohberger walked into their home, slit their throat, carved things into their body, and Brian Kohberger gets Kit Kat bars from commissary and top ramen. Any flavor he would like. Yeah. Yeah. Is that true justice?
And this is what it's come to. My great thanks
I'm gonna have to say
Steve Goncalvez
no.
and Shannon Gray, who has been his rock. I know, Shannon, you called Steve a rock. You've also been Steve's rock. Steve,
Imagine you have 4 siblings and someone did this to your siblings. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Like, place yourself in their shoes. Would you rather the death penalty? Would you rather? I know it's a horrific thing to think about, but it's a realistic perception to put yourself in.
we're here for you. You know that we're going to continue
It's happening
to follow
around us.
this. We're going to continue to
These
support you
people
as
are
well.
walking amongst earth. These murders, these killers, these rapists, all of them.
And I can't say it enough. We give you our condolences always, but we also send you our love as best we can from where we are in your moment of grief. Thank you for doing this and sharing this with us. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for your microphone and your audience, because without it, we'd just be crazies that nobody would ever listen to it.
Well, we're listening, and we will continue to listen. And Brian Enton, amazing work, incredible coverage, and he will continue to be on this case as well. To all 3 of you, my heart.
Okay, so that was the Goncalves family, and now we're going to listen to the Mogan family, who is on a very different, they have a very different opinion about this. So it'll be interesting to watch both sides. Or yet, better send that prison in El Salvador. Dude, 4 lives. 4 lives. Is Brian's life really worth those 4 lives? I kind of agree with what he's saying. Okay, let's watch this one. This is just like 5 minutes. Madison Mogen's family, I think, is okay with the decision of the death penalty, or the life prison sentence rather than the death. This is rough. This is dark.
Good afternoon. I'm Leander James from the law firm of James, Vernon and Weeks in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm a victims' rights attorney. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege and the honor to provide pro bono representation in this criminal case for Karen Laramie and Scott Laramie.
Pro bono.
the loving mother and stepfather of Maddie Mogen. I will be reading a statement of gratitude today from the Laramies. 962 days ago, we lost our Maddie, our kind, loving, vivacious, and caring daughter full of purpose and promise. We are grateful for the gift of her life, and we have grieved the loss of that life during each of these 962 days. We love you, Maddie, and we miss you. We are grateful for the gift of the young, vivacious, promising lives of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, and we deeply, deeply mourn their senseless loss. We remain in solidarity with their families and friends, and we continue to shower them with our prayers and support. We are grateful for their prayers, love, and support that they have given us. They have helped us and sustained us during our darkest times. We are grateful to the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, and his dedicated and caring team, including victim coordinators, Kim and Stacy, who have helped to guide us through the sometimes confusing and disorienting legal process. Thank you for all your dedicated, diligent, and tireless commitment to justice and the successful outcome reached today. We support the plea agreement 100%. While we know there are some who do not support it, we ask that they respect our belief that this is the best outcome possible for the victims, their families, and the state of Idaho. We extend our deep gratitude to the many law enforcement officers and staff who worked tirelessly to obtain the critical evidence that brought justice today, including the Moscow Police Department, the FBI, the Idaho State Patrol, and the 𝐭𝐸𝐿𝐻 County Sheriff's Department. We are deeply grateful to Judge Hippler and Judge John Judge before him. We thank you for your diligence, thoughtfulness, and judicial guidance. We appreciate the difficult work you have done to balance the rights of all involved and to uphold the rule of law. You have had our prayers and support throughout this case. We send our love and gratitude to the many family and friends who have supported us, cared for us, and helped us to heal our open emotional wounds. To the good people of North Idaho, who have showered us with kindness and support, we thank you. We also mourn today with you the recent tragic and senseless loss of two brave North Idaho firefighters. We extend our prayers and support to their families. You are not alone. We understand your pain. For all parents who have endured the loss of a child, we know recovery is a long and at times an almost unbearable journey. But you are not alone. And there is hope and there is healing. We thank those in the press who have respected our privacy and the grieving process, and the privacy and grieving process of the families of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. To others in the press, we gently encourage you to do the same. We thank the many people across our nation and beyond who have reached out to us, prayed for us, and extended their kindness. You too have helped us on our journey to heal. We now embark on a new path. We turn from tragedy and mourning. We turn from darkness and uncertainty of the legal process to the light of the future. We have closure. We embark on a path of hope and healing.
Closure.
We invite all of those who have mourned with us to join us, and we wish you well. Thank you. I will now share a few words of my own. Over the past 2 years, I've been amazed and humbled by Karen and Scott's strength, endurance, and faith. They have uplifted me and so many. They founded a nonprofit to help others in the name of Maddie. They have been a beacon of hope amidst a dark and tragic time. To those young and bright attorneys out there looking for purpose and meaning in your profession, I invite you to join the effort of crime victim attorneys to bring victims justice with compassion, empathy, humility, and understanding. This case is not the end of violence. This case is not the end of lawlessness. We need your help to bring hope and healing to the innocent caught in the crossfire of life. Thank you all.
So that's a big difference, right? Like from the Goncalves saying, you know, all of these things, and then this family saying they support it. To each their own. I think we should have got a trial. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That was a very good hearing and very good statements. I'm glad I got to catch up on those. What do you guys think? I'm shook. Are you guys shook? Are we going to be hearing Bryan Kohberger phone calls like we do with Wade Wilson? Yuck. See what I mean? That's not right. 4 lives, not just one person, 4 people. He killed 4 people in like 20 minutes. Something like that, right? A plea deal should have never been on the table. The evidence was substantial. I agree. I absolutely agree. He's a great lawyer, sued for victims all over the country. Okay. I'll have to look into him. BK would be boring as hell. Dude, we can't. We can't. You know he's going to be trying to be like a Chris Watts and a Wade Wilson in there. Anyways, thank you for being here. We will continue to follow whatever happens with this case. I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll hear their sentencing, and then I'm sure Bryan Kohberger will start playing games. Tomorrow we will be covering, I will be live a few times tomorrow since it is 4th of July. What do you guys like a robot? Exactly. If you're not doing anything for 4th of July, come back here and hang out. Tonight, I'll be live right after this. We always go live and hang out at night. The death penalty is a carrot dangled to extract, please. He shouldn't get any commissary. Anyways, I will see you guys after this live. Make sure you get your notifications on. No, not tonight against all logic. Something different. We're switching it up. But I'll see you guys on the next live. Thank you so much for being here and supporting my channel. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Turn on all your notifications. True crime all day tomorrow. And then at night, we just like to get together and have some fun. I appreciate you guys for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
So all they do is work, but nobody can hide once she gets a hold of that paperwork. So don't you dare come in here acting like a jerk. Bands might make her dance, but new court docs will make her wanna twerk. Dark hair shining in the Cali sun, Melly on the case, so no one and trying to run. You Sims can ask for feet pics, but you getting none. It's crime o'clock with Melly, let's have some fucking fun. So if you're feeling for true crime, like it's a drug, crime o'clock with Melly is your motherfucking plug. Going so hard on criminals, they'll call their mama for a hug. She's finding out all the stuff they try to sweep under the rug. Dark hair shining in the Cali sun, Melly on the case, so no one and trying to run. You Sims can ask